What is up, folks? I'm Misha Jones, and you're tuned in to yet another episode of Cease and Assist, where I'm not talking law, I'm talking basketball. And here, women's basketball comes first. On today's episode, I'm continuing Cease and Assist's new mission of giving representatives from the 14, 15, and 16 seed teams who were meant to play in the NCAA Tournament a chance to tell the world all about their seasons. And today, head coach Todd Starkey from Kent State University women's basketball is here joining me. Coach, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Can't complain. As I told you, I'm in my parents' basement, so, we're making it work.
You're bunkered in your parents' basement, all safe,
right? Yep. So if you haven't followed the Golden Flashes this year, here's a little bit of a crash course. They finished the year 19-11. They clinched a share of the Mid-American East Conference Division Championship. They had 5 players, you heard me right, 5 players averaging double figures, and were projected to make the tournament as a 14 seed because they were the highest seed left in the MAC Conference tournament before it was canceled in the semifinals. And Coach, is there anything else I missed that you need to tell the world about your team?
That's pretty good start. That we had 2 freshmen on the all freshman team. We started 2 freshmen and 2 sophomores all year, so we're kind of coming into our own right at the right time with a really young team. So it was a tough pill to swallow, but we're excited to be playing our best basketball at the end.
And that you were. I mean, from your point of view, what clicked that made it so special down the line? Because you hear coaches say you want to peak at the right time, and it seemed like, as you said, your team was peaking at the right time. So what?
Yeah. I really feel like we were. Yeah, I really feel like we were, and we talked about that all year because we faced some adversity. Not real adversity, just athletics adversity. With our team. But we also had some injuries that we had gone through. We lost a senior starter at the beginning of the year with an ACL. We had a fifth-year senior starter that was an all-conference player that missed a portion of the season with mono and a fractured thumb. And so we were really playing. There were times this year we were starting 3 freshmen and 2 sophomores. And there's growth that has to happen no matter how talented they are. It has to happen, through the ups and downs of a season. And so, we were experiencing some of that. We started the conference 0-2, and we were kind of sitting there like, what's this going to look like? And then we went 11-5 in the league the rest of the way. I think we won 8 of our last 9 and put us in position, to be playing really good basketball, and had a really good win over a team in Buffalo who had been kind of our Achilles heel the last couple years in the tournament. Really good team that Coach Jack has up there. And so we were facing Buffalo for the second time in 5 days and had lost to them at their place in a game on the road that didn't have as much significance for us in conference seeding as it did with them, and they played very motivated. Turned around and had a great win over them at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland, and in front of a crowd of about 200 people because we had to do a pass list only crowd. But it still was a great atmosphere. Our fans were great and came away with a win. And then all of a sudden, the brakes, you had to pump the brakes and everything was over.
So that's a lot to take in. I mean, yeah. For any team. I did one of these with Coach Fisher from Campbell University last week, and he was telling me just, when the flip switches, the switch flips that quickly on a team, and you've had all that momentum, it hurts a little bit. But staying on the positive side for a moment here, what was your favorite moment from this year?
Well, first thing I'll say, Coach Fisher's a good friend of mine, and I know he had a lot to overcome there. I've known Coach Fisher for close to 20 years now. So I tell you what, the thing that was most difficult for us is that our team came into the locker room after that win against Buffalo and were the most positive and confident that they've been all year. And then it was really a great feeling as a coaching staff to see this group really just fully believing in themselves and confident that we were, the other 3 teams those coaches would probably say they were in the same spot, but we really felt like, hey, number 1 and 2 had been upset in the first round. We were the highest remaining seed. We felt like we were playing the best of any of the remaining teams that were left. Like I said, I'm sure the other coaches would say the same thing, but for us to be in that place that you have prepared for since literally August, and you see it coming to fruition, and then all of a sudden, yeah, we're not going to get to finish what we started here. It was difficult, and especially for our seniors. But that they take those things. This team has taken those things pretty well throughout the year, and they're a resilient bunch. It's a good young nucleus that we have on our team, and really high character players, and they were really upset by it, but they also all tried to put a positive spin on it and say, listen, we ended our season with a win, and most teams can't say that right now.
True. So walk me through the moment you found out and how you told them that, NCAA tournament hopes, conference championship hopes, were no longer attainable.
Yeah. And I think we weren't really even focused on the NCAA tournament at that point. This team really had gotten to a point where we're like, we're going to take this one game at a time and see what we come up with. And so our complete focus, our team's complete focus really was on playing Eastern Michigan on that Friday. We had won on a Wednesday night. We were the last game of the women's side that night. And Thursday is when all the men's quarterfinal games are played. Our men's team was playing that evening on Thursday evening. And so we were planning on doing the game day or the prep before a game on Thursday to have a light practice, a walkthrough of Eastern Michigan, and prepare the scout for that, training room stuff and that type of thing. And then watch our guys play that evening. We had the first thing that happened obviously was the NBA, Rudy Gobert at the Utah Jazz and all that. That kind of started the dominoes falling. The Ivy League was the first tournament to cancel completely, and then everybody was kind of talking, well, we felt like that was kind of a knee-jerk reaction, and that we were going to be able to at least get through conference tournaments. And then we started hearing that the men's tournament was going to be delayed by an hour. And then I finally got the call from our deputy AD and said, hey, it's over. And so I had to, let the team know at that point. And, there were some looks of shock and some immediate tears from some of the players. And it was just kind of like, is this real? Is this real life? Is this really happening? And I think the reality of what was going on around the country now hit home. It was personal, right? Because everybody had seen all the news reports and things that were happening overseas and then started to happen in the country. And now it was kind of like, that's at a distance, right? Mm-hmm. Now it was personal. It was immediately affecting each and every one of our players. And so that's where I think the reality of just the gravity of what was getting ready to start happening around the country hit home with them, and it was emotional.
Yeah. So what do you say to your team? Obviously you say, it's over, we're done, but what do you say to kind of help them put it in perspective? I mean, like you said, I would have been in shock. I probably would have been one of the ones with immediate tears if this was my season. But as a coach, you kind of take on the role of nurturer. You kind of take on the role of, a person that they care about and know cares about them. So how do you help them put it in perspective before, they scatter off to back home or wherever they're going to quarantine themselves?
Well, I'm a big guy on quotes. In the middle of practice, sometimes I'll throw some quote, they make fun of me for it sometimes. Like, how do you remember all these quotes and say all this stuff? And we have quotes of the week or quotes for practice or things that I'll use for games to motivate them or give them perspective, and quotes about adversity, quotes about challenges, quotes about teamwork, quotes about leadership, all those different types of things. And I just told them, I said, listen, this is the time that you got to apply those things. It's easy to have those great thoughts and positive feelings and everything like that. when things are going well, but it's when you start to face some real adversity that it's time to apply those principles. And so that's what I talked about. I said, we're here for you. You guys are here for each other. It's not a great situation, but there are people in the country, athletes that are, quite honestly, you think about a player like Sabrina Ionescu, who came back to try and win a national championship and is winning every award and doing unprecedented things, and is on a path to try and win a legitimate chance at a national championship, and it's over. So we weren't the only ones going through something. There were thousands of athletes across the country that were in relatable situations. So they weren't alone, number one. Number two, the actual boots on the ground of this pandemic are the healthcare workers and people that are actually having to do those things, that they're in life and death situations. And that gives us immediate perspective that athletics are one thing, but it's not the ultimate thing that we have to think about. And that is to be with our families, to practice important health practices, to start social distancing, and to be praying for and thinking about those people that are on the front lines of fighting this pandemic. And that's where you can bring your perspective from. And they're a pretty level-headed group, and I think they immediately started thinking about some of those things. And like I said, I give them a lot of credit. They handled it as well as it could be expected. And we got them back to campus. We did an initial health check with them in the athletic training room, checking temperatures, make sure they were in good shape, talked about academics, and then we sent them on their way as quickly as possible, because we had a feeling that travel across the country was going to start getting limited. So we wanted to get our players, especially from a distance, back home as safely as possible. Wow. That was a long answer, but that was the details of what we were what we were in the middle of. It was kind of it's an unprecedented thing we're going through. So there wasn't a textbook, or there wasn't a chapter in the coaching manual on how to deal with pandemics, right? So you kind of just had to rely on your staff and the advice of people smarter than me, and just make sure that your players were safe, and that we told them we're going to reach out and stay connected, and we're going to get through it together.
Well, I mean, it's very sobering, when you really have to face up with the reality of it. And two, nobody who ever asked to interview you is going to be mad at a long answer. So
right.
I appreciate that.
I've been accused of running down a few too many rabbit trails in interviews and stuff like that. But it's the reality of what we were dealing with, and it was like I said, it was very real in that moment, that the coronavirus was now something that was not just in the news media or something that other people had to deal with. It was now on our doorstep, and that made it very real very quickly to our players and our staff.
Mm-hmm. And it's complicated. I mean, it's unprecedented. It's complicated, but from what you're telling me, it sounds like you have, a young group, as you said, but also a very mature group at the same time, that they were able to take it in stride and kind of do what they could with it. But looking ahead, who knows what's going to happen for next season? I can't, pretend to have the answers about that. But looking ahead with the group that you have, do you foresee being in a similar situation, not with the pandemic, but with the season that you had? Because for mid-major teams, it seems like, having even a chance to be mentioned in the NCAA tournament, even if, if it was by qualifications or, whatever the other criteria is, for mid-majors to get there, it's always a huge deal. Or for mid-majors to have the chance to be there, it is. So, moving forward, do you see yourselves being able to do that? And if not, tell me a little bit about how different it is for mid-majors getting there versus the Ionescu's with the Oregons. And
right. No, our expectation is to be right back in that situation, or even a more favorable one next year. I like our young team. I like the players that we have coming in. I think we have a a great opportunity to be better than we were this year or next year. That's not to say we're not losing some stuff, but the expectation of this team moving forward is going to be even higher. And it's how they embrace that or how they deal with that. It's going to, just because the expectations there, you have the talent to be able to do something, there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to do that. So many things that can tip the balance between winning and losing. So, but I really like what our staff has been able to put together from a recruiting standpoint and where our young talent is. We've had two players on the all freshman team the past 2 seasons, so 4 players in the last 2 years, and so good young talent. Like you talked about the balance and scoring. 4 of those 5 players that averaged double figures were either sophomores or freshmen. So. So we feel very optimistic about it, and our expectation is to make a run for another conference championship. Hopefully more than just a division title, but a conference championship, an NCAA tournament berth, and see what we can get from there. So that's what our expectation is now. The landscape of what college athletics and basketball is going to look like moving forward, there's still a lot of question marks. There's a lot of predictions about what might look like. Are you going to have abbreviated seasons? I think the pivotal piece in all of this is what football is going to look like for college athletics. I mean, because sometimes we don't want to talk about it, but football from a financial standpoint drives so much of what happens in college athletics. And we as women's sports, a lot of what we are able to do are in conjunction with football and March Madness money and with Title IX. Those are the 3 factors that really affect the ability for us in women's athletics to have opportunities. And so those are things that are important, and all women's coaches and women's athletes and should be looking at what those key pieces start to look like over the next 2, 3, 6 months. So I want football to be as close to what it was in the past, because I think that's going to affect a lot of things. That TV money from football and men's basketball really helps so many things happen. So we'll see moving forward. The landscape, we have to be adaptable. The number one thing we talk about as a team, we want to be as an adaptable team. And the number one thing we have to be as leaders is adaptable as well. So staying in good communication with our staff and our players, doing some out of the box thinking about what this could look like and how we can approach things. We're trying to do everybody's scrambling to do some out of the box recruiting right now, because we're not allowed to have contact on campus or off campus with recruits until at least after May 31st now, what the NCAA said. So a lot of things that you just have to be able to kind of figure out as you're going, because we are, like you said, we are in unprecedented times, and you can either shy from it or you can embrace it, and we're just choosing to embrace it and see all the positive directions we can go with it.
Well, Coach, your mentality, it seems like the right one for a situation like this, and I look forward to, even though we don't know what the future is going to look like, I look forward to following your team in the future and seeing what you and what the group is able to do. So thank you for joining me and for indulging me in this conversation. I really appreciate it.
No, it's great. I always like talking about Kent State women's basketball and the opportunity I get, and then obviously in support of women's athletics, and it's been a phenomenal thing to see what like our conference in women's basketball is just phenomenal. Our coaches in our league, the Mid-American Conference, great coaches, really high level players, and I don't think we get enough attention, to be honest with you, or respect. There's these teams. There's a lot of Power Fives that don't want to play the teams in our league in non-conference play because we're winning some of those games. So it's been an exciting run for me so far, and just really look forward to what the future holds. And I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I just hope that this can start to give you and the conference, the attention that you duly deserve, the seasons and the teams that you have. So Thank you again. You all can follow Coach on Twitter at Todd Starkey33. And you can follow me at MISHVJRNALIST. Stay tuned for more Cease and Assist. I'll be posting all these videos to my YouTube account, and I'll have more for you soon. So take care. Thank you again.
All right. Go Flashes.